welcome to episode 2 of the DJ's Powerup podcast. And tonight I'm joined by Michael.
What's up, guys?
Today we're going to talk about like every DJ's favorite topic, pricing, because Michael is an industry veteran and we just want to hear some of his insights on that. And then we're going to talk about DJ tech, especially with like lighting. What will be the next big thing? We're going to make our predictions and see if they come true. Michael Melice is a luxury DJ based out of New York. Michael, tell us your story.
Yeah, so my story as far back as we could go is back in high school, I used to burn CDs for all the smart kids in exchange for homework. And that kind of led me into wanting to become a DJ. But, after high school, I was pretty broke. College kid, didn't have a lot of money. So one day I made the crazy decision to take whatever I had in my account, which was like $100, to the casino. I went with my uncle, so he was playing, he was winning a lot of money, I was losing, and it was not a good day for me, but luck turned around. I ended up on my last $25. I think I had about $25 left. And somehow, as a joke, I said, you know what, if I could turn this $25 into enough money to buy DJ equipment, I'll go buy DJ equipment tomorrow. And that's literally what happened. Somehow, some way, I ended up making enough that night. I think it was just short of $1,000. I was able to go buy DJ equipment the next day, and then got a good friend of mine to train me. It's been a great journey.
Man, it's almost like it was God's plan.
I think it was. I do believe in God, so I really do think it was God's plan, because that honestly saved my life. I mean, I was working a minimum wage job back then. So that was so big for like supplementing my income and getting me to where I wanted to be.
Did you start as a wedding DJ?
No, I actually, for the longest time, I did not want to be a wedding DJ. And, you probably guess why. Wedding DJs have the bad reputation of being super cheesy and tacky and just, playing the same songs over and over at every single wedding. And I just didn't want to be perceived as that guy. So I was doing nightclubs. I've actually was on stage. So the first few years were a little tough. I was working for a multi-op, kind of doing college events. After that, I kind of went on my own. I kind of started my like little multi-op, but it wasn't doing so well. Not that it wasn't doing well. It was just like, it was kind of like a free-for-all. And a lot of the guys were not very like reliable and dependable. So I just kind of wanted to do my own thing. And started doing nightclubs. Then a lot of my friends from previous places got some pretty high-end jobs in the music industry. So I was they were able to give me gigs like opening up for guys like T-Pain, Mano, Young Jock, multiple members of the Wu-Tang Clan. So nice. I got to be on stage with those guys and meeting them. It was a pretty awesome journey. And then eventually I got into doing weddings.
Nice. And so you're the mod of the Wedding DJs Helping Wedding DJs Facebook group. And I think it's been my favorite Facebook group for the past year. How do you feel about that Facebook group?
I think we have a really good group of people in there. There's always going to be like the 10% of people that are in there just to instigate, and then the 10% that are just always offended about everything. But like the 80% of the people that are in that group are really, really awesome DJs. They're there for the right reasons. And I mean, we're all there to help each other out, to bring each other up. And the cool thing about it too is that I feel like when somebody does come into that group with bad intentions, everybody just kind of teams up against them and kind of get them to leave right away, so that the group stays positive and it stays a good group. So I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think it stays a pretty good group without like too much regulation. There's not too many rules. And if you haven't joined that group, I highly encourage it. It's like us DJs, we're constantly learning, and there's constantly new technology coming out. So I'll have the link in the description below. Join that group, and it's awesome. So one of the topics that is constantly coming up in that group and like every other DJ group is like the question of pricing. So for those that are just starting out, like what advice would you give to them? Like knowing like how do you price yourself?
Well, pricing yourself should be pretty straightforward. The first time you price yourself, it should really be based on, honestly, like the first 2-3 years, you should be more concerned about getting the experiences. So, maybe work for a multi-app for whatever they pay you. And, the main focus, I feel like the first 3 years, maybe the first 5 years, should be actually like learning and getting good at what you do so that then you can actually go on your own and be able to charge a good amount. But prices should be a very simple concept. And I feel like a lot of DJs make it more complicated than it should be.
Yeah.
It's just basic economics. Prices should be supply and demand. So let's say you have two different DJs, right? One DJ has all the best equipment, Pioneer CDJ 3000,
The good stuff.
S11. Yeah, just like the best of the best equipment. They're very experienced. They they're very good at mixing and scratching. They're very good MC. Like they're just very good at everything, and they have all the best equipment. And then you have another guy who is just average at everything, right?
Right.
Ideally, the best DJ should be charging more, right? But the one concept that we forget to ask, which is the determining factor of what people should be using to determine their rates, is who is actually getting the most inquiries. Because you could be the best DJ and have the best equipment, but if only two people knock on your door to book your services, you're not going to be able to charge hardly anything. But if you have another guy who's just average at everything, but you're getting 10,000 inquiries a year from multiple different sources, the second guy would actually be able to charge a lot more because it's just supply and demand. There's only one of you, there's a million people that want you versus there's only one of you and only a couple of people that want you. So, so technically, like it should be the first guy, but that's not how economics works.
Right.
It really is based on just supply and demand. So.
Yeah, in a perfect world, the best DJ would command the best price. So I think a lot of DJs get frustrated because they do work on their skills. Like they get their MC skills, they buy better equipment, they upgrade their lighting game, they work on their like mixing, but like they're not getting the inquiries. So what would you suggest to somebody who finds themselves in that situation? How do you get more inquiries?
So the best thing to do is to start a funnel. So for those of you that don't know what a funnel is you're essentially have inquiries sometimes coming in from your website, sometimes from the NA or Wedding Wire, sometimes they're referral from other couples, sometimes they're referral from friends or other DJs. So, all those kind of like funneling into like your website and then it just, you get messages through that, right? So what you want to start doing, especially, and it's always like important to start off like early on with this, is the first few years that you're in business, you start your business, really, really hustle. So what you want to do is go up to venues, go and introduce yourself. Try to earn the trust and respect from venues. You also want to go to other DJs and earn their trust or earn their respect. Like if there's other DJs in your neighborhood or your area that are doing really, really well, and you got a weekend open or a few weekends open, go and volunteer to help them with a wedding or help them with a show or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
In return, they're eventually gonna send business your way. Also photographers, dude. I get so many referrals from photographers. It's crazy. And like literally on, especially on Facebook, you know, when people post on, like, do you guys know a DJ like in this area? Photographers are always tagging me.
Yeah.
It's actually, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, photographers are great. People book photographers before DJs, so they're a great person to have in our corner.
Yeah, and the funny thing that something that just happened recently, I got voted as like one of the best DJs in Syracuse, New York. And I'm not even in Syracuse, New York, but I work with a lot of photographers from Syracuse, and a lot of them voted me as the best DJ in that town in the city. But I'm not even from there. I'm actually an hour away. So I actually live in a small town, and there's really not much around me. But I'm able to travel and yeah, make a good living. So
That's awesome. And sometimes in those Facebook DJ groups that we mentioned, sometimes I see DJs at odds with the photographers complaining about like them putting their tripods and their lighting in front of the setup, ruining the aesthetic. How do you get in the good graces of photographers then? How do we
yeah, I
become
mean,
buds?
yeah. So that's some of the bad photographers, you know, and like maybe some of the good ones too. But like I think when it comes to photographer, you know, just introducing yourself, like as soon as they come up with their equipment, you know, just introduce like, hey, I'm Mike. What's your name? You know, get to know them a little bit. You know, just have a spot for them behind you underneath your table if you're using a table and a facade, or you know, help them and also communicate a lot with them. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I communicate constantly with photographers, which is also one of the biggest complaints that I get from photographers about other DJs is that they never let them know when things like the cake cutting are about to happen, the dances are about to happen. So you need to be in constant contact with them throughout the event, and just let them know, like show them that you're on their side, not just say that. You know, then at the end of the wedding, let them know that you can't wait to see their pictures. Um, One other thing that I do always is on my planning sheet that I give to my couples and they fill out, I do ask for the contact information, or at least I ask who the photographer and videographers are.
Right.
And uh, I take that information, I add them on Instagram, and I message them saying, "Hey, I really look forward to working with you this weekend. So it's going to be such an amazing wedding. Let me know if you need anything." And just simple things like that. Like, you know, you don't really have to go overboard. You really have to do your job and just kind of be nice, and things will work out for the best.
I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. It's like, oh, we have to take them out to coffee to be nice and establish
Yeah.
these little professional relationships. But yeah, it's as simple as being nice to them, letting them like, hey, we're going to start the cake cutting in 10 minutes. And yeah, I like that about introducing yourself beforehand. I usually like message them after, but that's great. I'm going to start incorporating that.
If you even want to take it one step farther, if you see their photo albums later on that they send it to you, go write them a 5-star review.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And you know, they did an amazing job. The pictures turned out amazing. Like they were great to work with. They'll definitely appreciate that and probably write you one back too.
Right. And even if they don't, that's okay. You're still putting positive energy. You're helping a local business in your community. And yeah. And have you ever thought about like how much work goes into like editing a wedding album? And not too many people get to enjoy that album. So adding like yourself as one more person to appreciate it and share it, they love that. They love it when you tag them in photos on Instagram. And yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. Photographers definitely have hooked me up like the last 5 years. I've become very good friends with a lot of them. So like sometimes if I have an issue with another photographer, I'll actually contact one of my photographers friends, and I'm like, you know, how should I approach this? Should I do something? Should I say something? A lot of the times they're like, yeah, that person is an idiot. Don't worry about them. Like, you know, just ignore them. And you know, it's very rare that they usually have my back no matter what. And the same thing goes with venues too. Like, you know, being nice to the person that's in charge instead of giving them a hard time about where you're set up and stuff. it goes a really, really long way. And showing them some appreciation. Sometimes at the end of the year, I do send them like a $25 Starbucks gift card.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so for those of you that don't know, uh, the legal limit for the amount of gift that you can give somebody and write it off on your business tax is actually $25. So I buy a crap ton of this $25 gift cards, and I send them to the venue managers at the end of the year with a really nice handwritten thank you card, and just stupid things like that go a long way.
Little gestures make big differences. I see a lot of DJs too, like complain about like raising their prices. It's like, how I can't charge as much as you living out there in New York in your fancy city life and stuff.
Yeah, well, I don't live in the city. Like, I think I said that before. Like, I live in a small town in upstate New York. And actually, we have more Amish people here than we have skyscrapers. So, like, it's literally like I live in the backwoods. What DJ should be concentrating in is expanding their market. So, a lot of DJs think their market is just like their hometown, but it's not. It's really like your market is wherever you're willing to go for money, right? Like, so, if you get a phone call tomorrow to DJ in Ibiza, right? Like,
Yeah.
for let's say $50,000, like you're not gonna go do that. So like your
Yeah.
market is the world. It really comes down to how much are you willing to take to go this far. Um, so one of the things that I actually had to do was expand my market first, and then as my popularity kind of grew, then you can kind of narrow it and be more picky about where to select, about the weddings that you select and the couples that you select. But start with a larger market and then kind of work your way back down.
Yeah, I agree. So if you're like in the middle of the rural area, like try to find a city close to you and start advertising in there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so if there is a major metropolitan city, so I'll give you this example. So one of my best friends, his name is Nick Uranko, and he's a firefighter, but he was a DJ for a little while. I had been DJing, so I met him back in, I think it was like 2015, and I had been DJing for about like 13, 14 years back then. He had only been DJing for a couple years. And one day we sat down for coffee, and he told me he was charging, I think it was $3,000 to $3,500 per wedding,
Ooh.
which back then I was only charging $800. But that was back then, and I thought it was completely full of crap. Like I did not believe a word that he was saying, and he showed me, and he's like, "Yeah, Mike, so this is what I do." And I'm like, "Well, how are you able?" Because he lives in like, I think his town was named the number two most redneck town in the country or something like that. So I'm like, "How can you do that there?" And it's like, "Well, I don't do it in my hometown. It's more difficult in my hometown." But what I did, he told me he started advertising. So he lives in Pennsylvania, but he started advertising in Philly first. So it kind of really expanded his market to pretty much all of Pennsylvania. And then as his popularity grew, then he started to shrink his market a little bit and only started taking gigs closer to home. Because again, it's all about supply and demand. So
Yeah.
once you start getting the huge supply, then you can turn down more people and still fill up your calendar, or you can raise your prices a lot, and organically, like the number of people that can afford you will shrink down. But yeah, so there is. I would tell people, don't be afraid to raise your prices, but make sure that you can sustain it. Make sure that you have the supply there to support your increases.
Right, because I could start charging $50,000 to every inquiry that comes my way, but probably I'm not going to be booked very often.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, I could jack my prices up to 10, 20,000 a wedding, I might maybe book one if I'm lucky, but you know, it really comes down to the supply and demand. People are also very smart nowadays, and you have a lot of information with social media. So a lot of the times, couples before they even hear your price, they have a perceived value of what it's going to cost to hire you. Based on your
Right.
reviews, based on the way the website looks, based on the general area, based on how much they're paying for everything else. People will have a pretty good perceived value, and sometimes it's higher and sometimes it's lower, but usually it's pretty spot on.
That brings me up to another point. Like, I see a lot of DJs be like, if you were really good, people will come to you. They'll just find you, and you don't really need to spend any time marketing or advertising. Like, that's just a waste of time and money. Focus all your energy into just being really good, and people will find you. What do you say to that?
Well, that makes absolutely no sense because how are you going to find somebody if they're not out there to be found? So you know
I
what I
guess
mean?
word
So,
of mouth. I guess they're saying like word of mouth, like, oh, you played at my cousin's wedding, or my cousin says you're really good, or something like that.
yeah, I mean that's a decent argument. So I would say a person who is really, really good will be able to attract more people organically than somebody who is not. Um, but if you still market and advertise, then you're just growing something that's already big and making it even bigger.
Right.
So there is really no argument against marketing and advertising. The only like negative thing would be that you're already getting too much work. But then again, like you can raise your prices, and then you
Yeah.
start getting a little bit less work. So there's a strategy to this, and it's not really that complicated. It's again like do everything you can to try to get more people in the door. Once you have more people in the door, you can make decisions on whether you want to hire more DJs or you want to raise your prices. And some companies just decide to become multi-ops and have multiple DJs working under them and keep their prices low to medium. And then some companies decide to stay a single op, but keep their prices much higher. And then you have the amazing companies that can do both. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so you can do all three of them. There is no right or wrong way of doing anything DJ related, marketing related, or life related.
Or life related. Yeah, you kind of have to fit something that matches your lifestyle. Like, some people, they want to gig every week and they have the time. So if that's what something you want to do, and you're just like going crazy if you're not gigging, you can maybe afford to charge a little bit less. But if you are not wanting to gig as often, you could potentially raise your prices if you're getting those inquiries. Yeah, I love that. And what about
Yeah,
you?
and the younger you are, the more you should be hustling. Because once you start getting like, you're late. You start. I just hit 40. I just turned 40 myself. So like once you start getting in your 40s, you start prioritizing other things too. So you already. But if you already put up all the work in the front end when you were younger, then it's kind of easier as you grow. But if you didn't do that work when you were in your 20s and 30s, then it's kind of harder to grow as you get older.
You have to do the hustle. You have to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have like kids, because you have like a family, I have a family, we both have kids about the same age. And yeah, it's harder because when you are away from your family or away from your kids and you want to spend like all your time with them, and it's nice to be like really nicely compensated for that. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely better to do the work before that.
Yeah, and it's important to prioritize your family work life balance. Not only that, but also like maybe write down what your goal is for your company because everybody's goal is different. Somebody's goal might be to make $10 million a year. Somebody's goal might be to have a little bit more time and a little bit more money just so they can enjoy time with their family and their friends. So like everybody has different goals, and definitely respect other people's goals too, which is something that I try to do. I always remember that like not everybody has the same goals as me. So
Yeah, I love that. I see that sometimes in DJ groups, like your goal should be to be full time and raise your prices. But everyone has like a different background and has different goals. And I think, yeah, if we just remember that, then we can realize that something that we may be doing may not work for someone else, and vice versa. So yeah, I love that.
also just want to do it on the weekend, and they're okay making $500 doing something. So just let them do it.
No,
I think.
man, aren't those people hurting the industry at large?
Well, see, that's the funny thing about that, right? Because the people that say that, number one, I never understood that, and number two, um, the one thing that I always thought it was weird is like, okay, well, if you're $1,000 DJ, right, and you see a $500 DJ, and you think they're hurting your market, why don't you just hire that guy?
Right, economics.
You know what I mean? Like it would just make it easier for everybody. Like you wouldn't have any competition anymore. That guy would make, instead of 500, 600, you would make a $400 profit off of them. So like if DJs were actually smart and they actually thought about like when they actually said things like that, what would be a good solution? That would be the solution. Just hire that guy if it's bothering you that is charging $500, and just hire him.
Sometimes people don't want to hire like the $500 DJ because like I think they provide a better quality service than the $500 DJ, and hiring him would like be a lower quality of service.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple things you could say to that. I mean, training would come in place, right? But like, if that guy's bothering you so much that it's taking all your business, I mean, it should be at least good enough, or he wouldn't be getting. I mean, obviously, I would check their reviews and check their pictures and stuff like that. But I think a lot of DJs just make too many excuses on Facebook groups. I see them all the time. There's always the biggest excuse is always the market.
The market.
Yeah, the market excuse like kind of bothers me, to be honest with you. But that's like the biggest excuse that I get. There's guys in my market, or there is bottom feeders, and it's like nobody really worries about that except for the people that are constantly worried about what other people do instead of how to better themselves. Like, like nobody worries about that stuff. Like Louis Vuitton is not worried about, like the purses at Walmart. Like,
Right.
it's not a concern. Just worry about making yourself better. And people will see that. Like, if you have a great website where you can showcase your work, if you have a good social media account where you can showcase your work, then there should be really no excuse.
And like you said, people aren't stupid. People like, yeah, we're visual creatures. We can like see the difference. We can see like people having fun at the party. And yeah, I liked what you said to me earlier in a different conversation, that you just need to have like some really good pictures. So make friends with those photographers and they display those pictures of like a packed dance floor, a Disney like first dance, and that will get you a lot of inquiries and a lot of solid bookings.
Yeah, and that's what people want for their wedding. Like, I see people like advertising silly stuff like state of the art equipment. I even saw one DJ advertise American owned. And I'm like,
Are we all American?
Okay, like we're all in the same country. Like, I don't know if he was trying to make a statement about other DJs or something, but like I see the weirdest thing being advertised, and like really what you should be advertising is, especially with right now we're dealing with Gen Y and Gen Z, like they want to see videos, they want to see pictures, they don't want to read a lot. Like I don't want to read a lot.
Yeah.
See posts on Facebook that are longer than like 2 sentences.
Too long. Did not read.
Yeah, I kind of read the first two and then I kind of assume the rest. So sometimes I get in trouble because I respond, but I didn't fully read what it was saying.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like with Gen Y, like myself and Gen Z, you want to post pictures of what people want to see and the post videos of what people want to see. And that's so important is that's really all you have to sell yourself. I mean, you could send them a mix of what they want to hear, and you could show them pictures and videos of what they want to see. Everything else is really just kind of like hearsay. It's just your words out in the ether and nobody cares about. So
Right.
it's very important to get those pictures and videos out there.
And I have a question for you. I think you have a background in sales, right?
Yep.
Like, how many leads should you be closing?
Yeah. So actually, I'll go back. I'm glad that you asked that question because somebody else asked me that question about the background in sales, and then they did the whole Wolf of Wall Street where they're like, "Sell me this pen."
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
watch that movie?
No, but I read his book.
Okay, so what a lot of people don't understand about that movie and the sell me this pen part is that you can't sell a product or a service without understanding what the needs of the other person are. So
Right.
you can't sell somebody a pen if they're not in the market for a pen.
Yeah.
You can't sell them. I don't even know the different types of pens that are out there, but you can't sell them a black pen if they're in the market for a blue pen. So the first thing that you should be doing, like when you set up your consultations, is ask questions. You want to learn about their wedding and actually use the information that they're feeding you to tell them about what you could do to provide exactly what they said. I mean, they're literally telling you how to sell them
Right.
you if you're asking the right questions. And all you have to do is just ask the right questions, listen, maybe take some notes, and then apply what you do and how you could make those things that they like better and just give it right back to them. And then, hopefully they should book you for their wedding. So that's the whole thing with like sell me this pen. It's all about learning what your customers are interested in before you start the selling process. Yeah, I think your question was different though. Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I like that too because I thought at one point when I was like brand new, like learning sales, because I don't come from a sales background, but it was like if I like utter a certain string of words, if I said the right words, I could convert anybody into a sale. But after like listening to that in Kindle on my drive home from work, I was like, yeah, it was just a light bulb moment. It's like not everybody is looking to buy, and I think that makes it okay if somebody slips through your fingers. But yeah, the question was like, how many inquiries would you say is a good number to be closing? If you have like 10 inquiries, how many is a good number to be closing?
Well, if you only get 10, you should strive to close all 10 because otherwise you're screwed, right?
We'll say like 10 within a week, 10 within a month. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, so like an ideal sales goal is usually like 30%. Like a good salesperson should be able to close 30%, but obviously it depends on like what you're selling. It varies from market to market, and
Yeah.
but typically like 30% is a good closing ratio. Um, and I mean, unless it's like a place where they're reaching out to you. Like if you go to them and you could close 30%, that's a really good closing ratio. There's a lot of variables, but I usually use that for my numbers, and I assume that I'm going to be closing about 30% of the people that I talk to. So if I want to book 30 weddings, I need to talk to, let's say, 100 people, right?
I like that. So
Um,
you can work backwards and like see like, oh, I need more leads to be able to get the amount of gigs I want.
Yeah, and you can even go crazy with it. You can work backwards with the numbers, like the cost and what you want to make per year too. So you could start off with like, okay, this year I want to make, let's say 150,000, 200,000, 250,000, $1 million, and then work backwards to what you need to actually get there. So
Right. Yeah.
you want to make $100,000, and you're gonna book those 30 weddings, you're gonna have to charge what, $3,200 a wedding,
Yeah, sounds
3,300.
right. Yeah.
So you can kind of work the numbers backwards, and then make it make sense. And then you can also adjust the amount of marketing and advertising that you do based on what your numbers are looking like. So there's a lot of ways there. I don't have all the answers for you, but I just have some suggestions on things that have worked for me.
Yeah, and a podcast episode like this, it's just to spark some ideas, and then you'll have to do some more hustling and figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you and I are both gearheads. We love the equipment, and you and I both love lighting. I mean, we both use SoundSwitch. We both have used the Chauvet Wellsticks 180s. So there's a lot of really cool options, and there's a lot of like new options coming to the market. But what are some of the future trends you'd like to see or you predict?
Yeah, so as far as lighting, a couple of things that I would like to see are, number one, I would like to have some kind of DMX that is two-way, and I would like for them to become the industry standard. And what I mean by two-way is right now the current DMX is just one way, right? So you go from your controller or your software into like a box, and then it just goes out and it just tells all the lights what to do.
Yep.
But in order for it to tell it what to do, you need to input the information into the program or the controller. Ideally, I would like the lights to begin by telling the controller or the program what channel they're in, what DMX profile they're in, and then the controller can communicate back and forth with them. So that would be great. Another thing that I would actually like to see. So imagine the well sticks, but also having the ability to set each well stick to go with a specific frequency of sound.
Oh,
so
yeah.
let's say you set them up in a line, right? So you can have this one over here go with the music, but only go with, let's say, 50 hertz.
Yeah.
And 100 hertz and 200. So it would actually almost look like a cool equalizer to the songs that you're playing. So I feel like there has to be a way to make that happen. But then today, I think Algorithm released the announcement that they'll be implementing Apple Music into their platform. I think that's going to be huge. I think probably Spotify will follow. And
yeah, they were part of Algorithm at first, but they withdrew. You think they're going to come back?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should. I hope they do, because that's what I use. Like, I don't really use Apple Music. I use iTunes, and I'm a big Mac guy, but that's like the one program that I've never been a fan of. So I'm hoping that, Spotify would be amazing. Apple Music is amazing too. Like, I'm just not a user. But yeah, I would like to see a lot more streaming platforms. Also have a locker on there. I think 1,000 songs is fine, like a Beat Source ad for a locker.
Yep.
But I was having a lot of issues with Beat Source, especially every time I would upgrade my Serato, it would constantly just kick me off. So I actually
have to authenticate again. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it would kick me off again. So I actually ended my subscription, even though I kind of like the software, but it was just kind of becoming more of a hassle for me. And sometimes it would lose my entire library.
Oh, shoot.
So yeah, I like the software. I've actually tried to reach out to them to see, if there is a quick fix, but they really didn't get back to me with anything useful. So
yeah, and what's great about all these software solutions is I remember, how long have you been doing SoundSwitch?
Since it first came out, what was it, 2016? I was one of the first people in the door at the DJ Expo when they put that out. And I actually brought all my friends with me, and we all left.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. How do you think the software has progressed since then? Has it come a long way?
Oh yeah. I mean, literally when I got it, they had no gobos. You couldn't do the attribute cues.
I know. Yeah.
Then. You couldn't do a lot of stuff. I don't even remember because it feels like it was so long ago.
Right.
But it has come a long way. I still think that there are a couple things that they can do to improve it, but the software is really, really good. I really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely more stable. I think once they released the dongle, they have like static scenes and attribute queues, and that's when it was like really a viable solution. And I'm seeing a lot of these other solutions coming up, and I think they're kind of still in their infancy stages. But I think once they get a little bit of a following, a backing, and some money, they'll be able to do some cool stuff. And yeah, you shared me with. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
You shared with me your idea about like the two-way DMX thing, and it got me researching because I heard of something called RDM, and apparently it's been part of like the DMX protocol since forever. But there's a way to actually control all your fixtures from your computer, but like no major solution implemented it. I'm just like, why not?
Yeah, from what a sound engineer friend of mine told me is when they first came out with DMX, it was supposed to be, I think, a two-way system, and that's why they came out originally with a 5 pin. I could be wrong. Maybe I misunderstood him, or I'm mixing information from two different people here. But from what I remember him telling me is that originally when DMX came out with a 5 pin, it was supposed to be send and receive. That's why there is 5 pins. And then most people, I think, just got on board with a tree, and I don't know. It never took off. So.
Right, and that's what I read too, is that they had 5 pin just so they could add like extra functionality, but they just kind of haven't really developed the protocol very much. It's kind of been the same since forever. And I think RDM does work on 3 pin. I haven't done too much research. I've never really like developed on a DMX solution, but it would be cool, like auto patching, because I think that's one of the things that just drives like newbies crazy, and even me, because sometimes I'll use like a different number of uplights in an event or a different number of movers. And if I could just have an auto patch that would like auto address all my lights, that would be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, just set up the light and then just let that tell the computer how to do it.
Right. I mean, with Ape Labs and their Ape Music, it kind of does that. Like you just turn it on and it connects to that hub, and that hub knows what kind of light it is and it tells it what to do. But yeah, I'd love to start seeing that with more solutions, because I hate having to like patch all my lights and change things up, and that's a pain.
Yeah, and also I think I want to see like different shapes of lights and different like I don't like I feel like we really haven't done a whole lot. Like now we have the sticks, right? And like that was like the cool new thing. Then now we have these sticks kind of laying around, but like you can make some cool shapes. The other thing that's gonna be huge, I think, is the holograms. So
Yeah.
they're starting to come out with some sick holograms, and what it is almost like a fan that just spins around and like a light is projected to it, and it looks amazing. It looks like the perfect hologram. And I think it's only a matter of time. I actually almost bought some a
Nice.
couple years ago. But then I was like, you know what, new technology, I don't even know where to start with this. I don't even know what kind of stuff I need to upload to it and where I even upload the stuff to make it go in the fan. So it was just too much like of uncertainty going into it that I decided to just, all right, maybe I'll just wait until it kind of kicks up a little bit. But I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that happens with early adoption. And once you get it like more when it's a little bit more developed, then yeah, it's more of a viable solution. Yeah, you posted that today in a Facebook group, and I did a little bit of research. Yeah, I saw that they even have like video walls with that. And it's like, how
so
light is that?
multiple.
Yeah, no more giant $20,000 screens. It's just like some fans. To be fair,
Well,
it
I
was
don't think those
expensive.
things are cheap
Yeah, it was
either.
about $6,000, but the lightweight, I think probably a single person could set that up, opposed to like all those panels.
Yeah, I'm sure there are lightweight. I've actually looked into video walls because I've wanted them.
They're so cool.
Yeah, they're amazing, and I do like I've been doing videos. I've been video DJing since probably 2010. So as something I would like to do, but the issue is not even the cost of the panels, which is already expensive, but it's like how long does it actually take to put all those things together? And to make a decent sized wall, like you're talking about, like just probably at least an hour just putting it together, an extra hour taking it apart, which doesn't sound that bad, but if you're already adding that hour to all the other things that you have to set up usually for a wedding, that means you, instead of going in 3 hours early, you're going to have to go in 4 hours or 4.5 hours early. So it's, so having
That's
a
complexity.
better solution, yeah, having a better solution would be kind of nice.
And it's cool because it's not a wall; it's a hologram. It's in midair.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it could probably attack people on the dance floor. It's gonna be so sweet.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the future is exciting. I'm excited to see with what new stuff we come. The shapes with the lights. I mean, I know Asteras have some of that stuff, like connecting stuff, but I just really haven't seen that take off, and that kind of makes me sad.
Yeah, I think more stuff will come up. I mean, it has to, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think James has done some cool stuff with lighting.
yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't know honestly what's happened to Chave because they were huge, and I was a huge fan of them. I mean, I still have a lot of my lights of Chave, but I haven't even seen them around the last few expos. I think they had just like a very small table, and I was looking for somebody to talk to about some lights, and yeah, I feel like they've given up on us DJs.
They did recently come out with like the battery powered mover, which I don't know. I think a lot of it hasn't been well received by a lot of DJs, but I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think, yeah, I don't, I'm paranoid that that stuff will die on me. So
Yeah,
I'm like, if I could, usually my take is if I could run a cable, I'll run a cable. So unless it has like a crazy, crazy battery life. Um, but yeah, I mean, those seem cool, but I want something brighter too. So
right. You have to compromise. It's about going to be like 60, 75 watts. And I know a lot of DJs like more brightness. And I think their big thing
yeah,
too is the ILS, like eliminating the need for DMX. It's kind of like their new big thing.
yeah, I think a lot of companies are going to start coming out with their own new ILS system or new style of DMX system. I think I just read what I think was it JMES that's coming out with something like that or something similar. But I think more and more companies will start to come out with stuff because I feel like they have to.
Yeah, us DJs, for the majority, like don't really want to spend too much time with like DMX programming. We just kind of want an auto magical solution that we just deploy and it does its thing and it's fancy and elegant, but have some control so that we can set the scene for like dinner and cocktail hour and first dances and stuff.
Yeah, and also the other thing too with that is you got to keep in mind there's like as maybe me and you might not have a problem, but there's a lot of multi-ops out there that maybe have like 10, 20 guys working for them, and to have to teach 10, 20 guys
Oh
DMX
yeah,
from scratch, like
yeah,
imagine that. So yeah, for a lot of those companies, it's very easy to get a very quick and easy solution that they could just program onto a box, and send that box with one of their employees and just say like, you know what, hit number one during the first dance, hit number two during introductions, hit number three during open dancing, and hit number four during the cake cutting. And like
yeah,
the
yeah.
lights will just do what they were programmed to do for that scene. So yeah, there's I feel like everybody has to find the right balance in like what direction they want to go.
Right.
But I do like where things are headed with SoundSwitch. I also was talking to Joshua Carl, and we were talking about implementing visualizers for SoundSwitch. So you know how SoundSwitch has the color visualizer?
Yeah.
There has to be a way to make that in a way work with video, to where you can overlay that on top or underneath an image and make it glow that color.
Oh yeah.
And so that way you could use SoundSwitch and you can do video kind of with SoundSwitch based on the colors that you have on your master track.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that lots of times with video DJs is that they have their cool lights, they're all synchronized, doing the same color. Then they have a video that's like doing something completely different and it looks kind of wonky. So having them all mesh together, yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, for sure. And man, I think I'm allowed to say what I want from SoundSwitch, but now that I have like the Denon Prime 4 Plus, like they have engine lighting, which is basically like a tablet version of SoundSwitch. And you can control your movers with a touchscreen. And I want to see like a standalone controller from SoundSwitch, like the Control 2 or something.
Yeah, I would too. And actually, I thought that on the Control 1, they would have something like that because you know how you could save your stuff on the Control 1 itself. So I was hoping that, you know, being that you could do that, the Control 1 could actually, like, you know, you could save maybe some scenes or something and just control them. But yeah, that would be great. Or I would like to do maybe even have an iPad program, which I've brought up to them before and they said it's too expensive. You know, but it's in music. They got the money.
They always haven't been in music, so.
What's that?
They always haven't been in music, so now that they have like the in music backing, maybe they have like more resource to divert to cool things like that.
Yeah, I mean, an app would be great because then you could, I mean, you could really take your lights to go. Like, it's so much easier than having a laptop and a MIDI controller because an iPad would actually work as both, right? Like, it would work as the screen and the programming agent, but it would also work as the, you know, as the MIDI controller itself. Or, I mean, they could make it so that you have to program it on a computer, but then you can import the scenes or the profiles onto the iPad and then just, you know, launch it from there.
That's kind of what you do with engine lighting, and yeah, it works great that way.
Yeah, there has to be, like, the possibilities are endless, and I'm sure they're probably even thinking about like cool stuff that we have not even thought about. You know, I'm sure there could be, you know, emails dailies about you know, things that they could do. So, you know, I'm really excited to where things are going to be going the next 5 years is going to be amazing. Like, the gear that's going to be coming out is going to be insane. The shift in technology is going to be insane. I am so excited to see where things are headed the next 5 years, dude, that I can't even begin to tell you.
I know, we're going to have a lot more cool, shiny toys.
Yeah, I know. My bank account is not going to get any higher, but like, at least I'll have some stuff around the house.
Well, cool. Thank you, Michael, for joining me and chatting with me. How can people find you? What's the best way to follow you?
Best way, I recommend Instagram at DJ Mike Melice, spelled M-E-L-I-C-E. So it's Mike and then M-E-L-I-C-E. That's on Instagram. Yeah, and then or just like me on Facebook, whatever it's easier for them. I really appreciate you having me.
Yep, and I'll have a link in the description below with those handles. Yeah, thank you for joining me and have a wonderful night, man.
All right, you too, man. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.